specific to one chassis or something. It can be any line card can have that kind of extra flashes.
I had one more question on the earlier discussion which we had, right? Like the global DB, whether we should have a single instance or like just a thought, because since the PMON keeps on updating different status to a DB back, right? I'm thinking if we have a common DB, like if all the PMON in all the line cards updates the supervisor card, wouldn't that be too much of information? Or I'm just thinking whether we should update critical information there. I'm thinking that way.
So the schema itself, Manju, can you go up? We only thinking right now with sensors mainly, right? The information which is needed, sensors only, not everything.
So
right?
Not everything. Okay.
Not everything. But if there is a need for other information, we can think about it. But right now we only thought sensors is what needed.
Yeah, so if you can put the information here, right? Yeah, because otherwise I think different daemons update frequently to the DB, so I don't think it's good to update everything onto the supervisor. Yeah, okay.
No, so just on a case-by-case basis, and only thing that we've identified is that thermal cutlery will publish only sensor information, right?
Okay.
Only the temperature sensor information.
And the rest everything the supervisor will poll from the line card then.
Via PMON API. I mean, it's not really polling directly, right?
True,
we are saying that everything, there are a couple of channels. One is that goes via PMON API, so PMON API can implement the way in which it can go over midplane Ethernet or it can go over registers. Yeah. The other one is the asynchronous information, which is a common across the platform, which are like sensors, which we are trying to put this in the model. Actually, the schema itself we published, right? Manju, can you go up? We captured the schema for the sensors, right?
No, sensor schema doesn't change as such.
Yeah, but we captured for a schema there on the chassis D or for sensor.
No, so that was we didn't, because the schema doesn't change. It's the same information which is replicated on two DBs, on local DB and global DB.
Okay.
Global.
So one question for my clarification: global DB so far, based on the discussion, would hold the sensor data, and a remote card LC would publish into the global DB on the supervisor, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Sensor data caters to all kind of sensors, including temperature. I mean, beside voltage current, it would hold temperature also, right?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, the temperature is exactly, So those sensors, what we are thinking, So not everything like today it can dump a lot of state machine of like local state thing, right? We're only sending the sensor information, which is a temperature mainly, and some power and those things,
Yeah. Sensors data be temperature, voltage, current, because power can be formulated from voltage, current, and then thermal, which is shown here in this picture, would refer to that DB. Thermal control daemon is not going anywhere else. It will just refer to the global DT to fetch all this information, right?
That's correct. That's option 2,
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And earlier, if I remember right, you mentioned that this inventory, basic inventory information of a remote LC, like the type, its basic card type plus state and some basic information related to the inventory of a card, like version and all. Those would also be part of global DB or not?
No. So chassis D, I mean, again, right? So we want to keep whatever is relevant to that card. I mean, we could argue, either way, but so chassis D, which is running, which is monitoring on the supervisor card, will update only its local Redis DB, right? So, let's go back to this picture, right? So
if you come to the PMON APIs, right, Manju, the chassis D APIs that will show correctly. Which
so I'm just trying to take a use case, simple use case. If I want to view the basic card information of all the cards on the chassis, and if I do a show platform or a show platform sum option, then I should be able to dump the remote LC one entry. For each LC, one entry depicting what it is, what version it is, period.
Yeah,
so something like this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
The name, and we don't have a type here specifically, but we'll add a type, as you say. I mean, like thinking. But the type is again very specific to the platform, right? What mean the type? Type doesn't mean the it's platform independent, right? It's like SFM1, it could be meaning that it could be any number of versions. There could be 10 versions of SFMs. So what we are saying is that these are the name we are pulling it common in the. So this is available in the global Redis published by chassis.
Global DB. This is global Redis DB. Okay, got it.
Global Redis DB and published by chassis. Yeah. I mean, actually, it doesn't need to be in global DB because these are local to supervisor.
No, so that's what. So I was.
No, again, yeah. LC.
I meant
LC.
to say local Redis DB only. So this information will be in local Redis DB on the control card. Global Redis DB right now, we are seeing a use case only for thermal sensors to be updated, because we want like one place where
thermal and
all this
power, right? Power related.
Oh, power, yeah, correct.
So just to get it right, the local Redis DB on the CC or the supervisor is holding all the local card information, which is CC plus FC, but will it have for LC also?
LC also, yeah. So it is a chassis D running on the supervisor. It has a local database which will include. Can you go up, Manju? That table? Can you go up? Yeah, this information is published in the local Redis DB of the CC card, a supervisor card, right? So the global DB only includes the sensors, like as you said, the power and fan and some sensor information coming from the line cards.
Yeah. Only for this update, right? Only for line card updates to control card.
So that can you go up? That information, how the local DB information, this is obtained via PMON APIs. We are not explicitly saying that we will use a Redis for this purpose. So there will be a get status, right? The PMON API, if you look at chassis D, will have a get status and get card type or get card name. Those are the things, yeah. So to get card description.
These are all happening at a request, right? It's a request response.
Correct. Yeah, it's a poll model. Yeah, I mean, because here monitoring, chassis D monitors very frequently. Yeah, whatever time interval. Yeah.
Yeah, chassis D. Okay, eventually chassis D's its eventual goal or the ownership would be to fill the latest greatest state of a line card along with this the row that you showed in the table, right? That's it.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
So this is not from the local Redis DB.
Yeah, this is local Redis DB supervisor. Yeah, and this would help connect to your global Redis DB via this state. So the state update may be residing in a global Redis DB or not, but there would be a linkage from this line card to that global DB, right?
Yeah. I mean, the process subscribes to updates from the local DB for the state of the line card, right? So that is residing in any process that is running. So you see that, okay, this line card is operationally up. Okay, so let me go pull my power information or temperature information or whatever from the global Redis DB.
Fine, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, it would be good to add these sections also, right? I think just to be clear, what is where, into the global and local.
Yeah.
I have a quick question about the implementation up above, the line card base. I see that it's just a little further. Yeah, it's just it's inheriting from object. We have the module class in the platform. Is there a reason not to use the module class? The idea behind the module was module represents a removable module. I'm just curious why.
Yeah. So why not? we did review it. So the module class seemed to be containing a lot more stuff, as in it had like a list for PSUs, list of temperature sensors, list of so it seemed to kind of mirror almost what the chassis base had. So which is why we were wondering, we wanted something which was maybe simpler, but it's probably a good thing to get your opinion on. So we didn't kind of understand why PSUs and I think few other lists were also present as part of the module.
I think the idea was to keep it as general as possible, so that depending on the type of module and what that module had, if it actually had fans included, if it had, most likely it would have thermal sensors, possibly PSUs. So it's basically, the idea was to make kind of a catch-all class. We can discuss if that's if that's too much. It feels like we could just implement whatever is necessary for that type of module. But if you feel we need a specific class, I guess we can review this at a different time. Don't want to interrupt this too much.
Yeah, we did compare, as Manju was saying. We didn't quite understand the module chain. I mean, yeah, we can take it as a review that rather than because it has a module base has a lot more things than the line card, and we are not sure whether module base means common, because the line card we know that there is a specific operation like a reboot, and we didn't see a reboot kind of things. So that's the reason we are kind of created a separate, and we didn't inherit from a module base because then it had so many arrays, which we didn't had it for a line card.
So is your idea to have different base classes here for different types of cards?
I mean, different type of class. I mean, here the line card we are saying for chassis, it's kind of module based, but just that we are qualifying with the line card specifically. So the line card will have only the operations like I mean, the operation like reboot is only option set admin state, and the module base seems to be slightly bigger than this, right? Like in a disaggregated chassis, the line card, the way in which current SONiC disaggregated chassis, the line card can only do these operations. It cannot control the fan, it cannot control the PSUs and everything. So that's the reason we kept a trimmed version of a module base as a line card base.
I see. So your line card doesn't have fans on it to control.
Yes, yeah, exactly, because those are
fans,
separate.
No
right?
PSUs, nothing. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's common for all chassis, right? We tried to keep the idea behind the module is to keep it as general as possible, and then the idea was that you could use whatever portions of it implement whatever portions of it apply to your card. We can take this offline to a separate review maybe and see how we can best utilize the module or redesign that. I think we should solidify that at some point here soon.
Agree. Yeah, completely agree. Yeah. So that's a good point because we did have the same question, but yeah.
Okay, sure. I mean, we'll take this for now. We can take it offline to a separate review, maybe another week or something where we can go over that more thoroughly.
Thank you.
So I have one question on this. I saw there's a get change event. What is the purpose, under what all scenarios we are invoking that? The one at bottom?
Yeah, so this was from the review comment we got last week. So for asynchronous updates, right? So we said instead of like polling every 30 seconds, we said we could get each platform could implement an asynchronous event if we give a get change, like how it currently happens for SFPs. When you pull a SFP, we will get an asynchronous event that an SFP change event has happened, and we can immediately act upon it.
But again, up down here refers to insert remove, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's basically a generic kind of callback function that we want to implement with all of our devices in the platform API for insertion, removal events and things like that. So especially for any type of device that is removable, we would like to see those kind of asynchronous event notifications be used.
Yeah. So
yeah, but I'm trying to say tomorrow if we want to enhance, this is generic such that it could cater to any state update. Tomorrow we come across something further into the state update, it can cater to that, right? Meaning platform updating asynchronously.
Certainly, yeah. It's basically a state change. Yeah, we currently for SFPs we use it for insertion and removal, but it could be extended. Yeah, you could implement a change event for state changes, things like that. Absolutely, like the up-down events that are mentioned here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have listed out summary of the APIs. Please take a look at it, and that will give an idea about how we are planning to. We are thinking of ultimately all of them finally boils down to APIs, right? All the discussions here. so that it is applicable to every vendor to implement it. See if you can see if these APIs make sense and pass the commands, we will take it up.
So there is one generic question I have on the show CLIs. So I think there is a show platform, temperature, and then show environment. So wondering why temperature falls under show platform, or should they all be catered under showy environment?
Your screen is frozen for me at least.
I think the organization of commands, we can discuss reorganizing things. Currently we have a show environment, but that basically uses the old sensors data. Once we have thermal control D and all of our daemons in place, then we will be able to collect all that information from the DB and display it. We might want to restructure the commands. But for now, we have the show platform group of commands, right? So we have show platform PSU, show platform fan, show platform temperature. So we've started using that structure to display the platform data and separating it by type of device. We could have both eventually if we want, and have a show environment where it lists everything. I think that's debatable, and we can discuss the structure later. But for now, yeah, we're using these show platform subgroups.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Show platform subgroup for now, like show platform fan and temperature, but show environment would still cater to what? Other sensors like voltage, current. That's it.
Well, that would be show platform PSU, right? We would have all the voltages there. So for with the direction we've been going, the show platform commands would supplant the show environment. Like I said, show environment right now literally just runs the sensors command, LM sensors, which we'll be doing away with LM sensors, like I said, once we have all the daemons in place, and we'll be using data from the DB that was collected by the daemons. So show platform environment will eventually be deprecated. If we want to reuse it for something, we could, but for the time being, we're grouping everything here under show platform. So that's something we can discuss in the future, but I think we should go with this route for now.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. So if once, I think, so show environment deprecation once happens, then eventually show platform sub options would cater to all the sensors.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, we could have a show platform all or something that shows everything. Or like I said, if we want to go back and reuse show platform environment to do that, or a show environment, I'd rather keep everything as, in the CLI as clean as possible and no duplicate commands if we can help it. So, but I'm open to suggestions, and we can always discuss that in the future.
Yeah, and also even for the operational command, right? For example, we will do a platform, maybe I don't know what exactly, like a platform reboot line card 1, line card 2. Kind of thing. How does it done, Joe, today? To reboot, I don't think it exists today for a reboot.
Yeah.
But in this case, we have to kind of request to reboot a line card.
I'm sorry, is that a question to me?
Yes, yeah. So any thought on that? Basically, how do we do a reboot of line card, a command specifically?
Yeah, that needs to be discussed. That has not been thought through.
So we didn't call it here, but we kind of thought that like a show, we thought we can do a request platform, line card reboot 1, line card reboot 2, that our reboot line card 1. So that's a request is a kind of operational command, what we qualify. Like a show is for show commands, and a request for operational commands.
Yeah, well, we have the show and config. Config is for the, it's more of a writable, where we can, any kind of configuration changes are done there. Maybe we could incorporate a request command, or maybe we could incorporate it into the config command.
Okay, config command is more like a persistent configuration,
correct,
right? Yeah, I mean, operational. Like this kind of operation is not stored as a configuration DB.
Yeah.
So that's the reason we thinking request as a top level subgroup. Under the request, then we can have a platform under the platform we can have all the platform specific.
Sure, we could add a new command request. That makes sense. We have a show command, a config command, a clear command, and a request command. We could add request into that. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Sure. Yeah, that's what we implemented, but we can we will put it in the PR, then we can discuss that.
Sorry. So this request command is to reload a line card.
Yeah, that's the main use case right now. Yeah.
Can we extend the existing reboot command, like reboot line card 1, instead of adding another like top level hierarchy?
Sure, but it's only for line card. There could be a lot of other stuff, right? Like, do you want everything to be? I mean, that's a good point, because we have a reboot, but the reboot script can be enhanced to take care of line card. Yeah, we'll. But what are other any other operations? For example.
Yeah. So I have a question. Sorry to interrupt. Are we perceiving reboot and reload as same? A reboot could be a Linux reboot or something similar. A reload, if I want to do an operation on the entire line card, regardless of the state, stuck state, or I want to bring it back up, then a reload is a brute force, eventually follow the power zone sequencing off and on and bring the card back up. So I thought that is more like a reload from a operational CLI perspective, which can come handy by the external controller, for the external controller. So is reload same as reboot, or how is it?
So in our view, yeah, I mean, we thought request command can have its own reboot and reload specific operations, right? Like, so that we can keep adding these kind of things. But today SONiC only supports reboot. Reboot almost there is a platform specific implementation can be plugged in and reboot the entire Linux. Both is combined under the reboot. There are some specific commands, platform specific commands under the reboot. Not a command, but implementation.
Yeah, but that is, are you saying that is still separate from what you think as a reload, right?
Correct. Yeah. So our proposal from Nokia, we are thinking the request command we will add it for a chassis. So the request command can have a very specific reload and reboot.
So it can have variations. Like, okay.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll have separate command, sub command, reboot and reload, right? What is the reboot and reload? Reload is the exact sequence, the vendor specific sequence. The reboot is more like Linux reboot, if possible. Yeah. But reboot cannot be applied on the supervisor, because supervisor cannot reboot Linux, right? You log into line card and reboot it. The reload is the only operation can be supported from supervisor.
No, reload can be supported from anywhere, right? On a LC, you can reload LC. On a supervisor,
supervisor cannot do reboot of the line card. So reboot has to go to line card and reboot it. Yeah.
Reboot is just individual CPU based node reboot, Linux reboot. And reload can be enhanced to anything. And if it's a reload of a supervisor, it is up to the platform. If a reload of a supervisor is intended or requested, it can go for all the CPU-less FC reload, right?
That's right, exactly. So supervisor can reload a line card directly via reload sequence, but it cannot reboot. Cannot reboot the line card sitting on the supervisor. If you want to reboot, you log on.
Yeah, I'm just focusing on a reload itself. In a reload, there are two options: a reload of a LC, which is intending for that remote LC only. That's fine. But a reload of a RP, it is up to the platform to implicitly take a toll on the FC as well, or it can leave it FC like that, right?
That's right. Yeah. So those are very specific to the vendor at this point. Yeah.
Vendor. Yeah. And then there could be third variant, which is reload of the chassis. In a fixed POC, it is just the box itself. In a modular or a distributed, it would be all cards, right?
So those are under the options. Yeah, there will be a category under options. So we didn't.
Yeah, I think this if this can be mentioned, then we can take it up later. Right.
I think we wrap up the line. Top of the time. Anshu, you wanna I think we don't. I mean, we'll add a section for that sensors table, and as well as we've taken some action items, and we'll add the two request command here. Then we can review it another time or part of offline or PR review.
Yeah, we can have offline discussion on this as well. That's fine. But just one follow-on question. Config support is there. I happen to see these basic show support and all. But config support, does it have the ability to issue a shut of a local or a remote card?
Today shutdown admin status setter down. There is no config per se. We didn't include that. That's a good point. Maybe we need to add that because today there is no line card specific config section, right? Manju?
No. So no, it wasn't config driven. So
yeah, this was more like we were saying that admin state, like you can have a command like the click interface CLI command, which Joe can find some input here. We didn't think of config per se, but it's if you don't do config, the challenge is when you reboot, it will be gone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the purpose is okay. Some card is kind of repeatedly reloading or something. So either the system software itself shut it down, or a user should have the ability to shut that card and let rest of the system running.
So shut the card we can, but let's say after shutting down the card, you did a chassis reload, right?
Correct.
So then
that's the difference between. No, a config shut meaning for all practical purposes, I am shutting it down. Even if you do a chassis reload or a power cycle, this config would get replayed again and shut that card again.
Yes, yeah.
That we haven't.
Yeah, we'll add that also. Config.
Yeah,
actually, we need a config section for a line card, at least for operational cap state, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But then, can you add like, is it this config understanding is from the supervisor only, or in this world? Oh, so there is nothing like I can do a config from LC, right?
No. So the line card is a piece of box, right? You are not giving any
admin.
I mean, there is no another, like you cannot even basically you are not. I mean, at most it doesn't even talk to supervisor. Some extent you can say that doesn't manage the supervisor. Only supervisor manages the line cards, not other way around.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, got it.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on the PMON document? All right. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Manju, and thank you everyone for an active discussion. This was very helpful and productive.